Aloha. We are live, Charles.
Yep.
We are live. Let me set up a new setup over here tonight, so I don't have to keep looking down. Hopefully, I can look at the camera and look at my comments all at the same time. But hey, aloha, man. Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Facebook Live with Mel and Charlie. Tonight is Monday. I just watched the Pittsburgh Steelers lose their third game in a row to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
You know. And I wish I could tell you guys that they're resting all the starters because they're already in the playoffs. But no, man, they're playing all their starters. They're playing to win, and they lost. They lost to a team that only had 2 wins this season. So
Hmm.
looks like they're struggling. But anyway, that's the beauty about football. That's the fun and excitement of football. You just never know. On any given Sunday, anybody can win.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you all again, guys. Thank you all for joining in. We got a special show tonight. We got our mayor, Derek Kawakami, and our district health officer, Dr. Janet Berreman. Bring us up to speed, up to par on what's going on. There's a lot of things going on. I just saw that the governor approved Mayor Caldwell's removing the halava numbers to count towards his tier thing. I guess he's adamant about opening up. So they're gonna do whatever they gotta do. They're gonna play with the numbers so he can get his way. This is what troubles me is you're gonna do all of these things to open up your county for what? What? To create more spread, more virus, only to have to close down again. So I'm curious to hear what Dr. Berman thinks about that. I understand the concept that hey, it's not fair, but at the end of the day, it's still a case. It's on a human, and it's in Oahu. So, but I guess opening up, moving tiers for Mayor Caldwell is his priority, and we just gotta wait and see how it goes. The
Well,
numbers still triple digits, man. Still triple digits on Oahu.
what doesn't make sense about this whole thing is the fact that when OCCC had their numbers, right? And their
Hmm.
numbers fine. He didn't ask for the numbers to be removed.
Yep.
So by doing it now, it's very, very targeted towards being able to go to the next year.
Hmm.
If you want to do that, right? At this point, just fudge the numbers. What the hell? Nobody gonna care.
Well,
Just fudge the numbers. Just fudge
it's kind
the
of what
numbers.
he's doing.
Yeah, just fudge the numbers for Oahu and deal with it. Because to me, it's a worst effect to open, close, open, close, open, close.
Yeah,
You think
exactly.
that the holy grail now is going to be you take away those numbers so you can meet that tier of moving that tier by Christmas. That's your goal. Okay, fine. That's if you have everyone come into compliance. And you and I, Mel, both know from the reports that we've got from all the spotters on Oahu that constantly write to us, sends us pictures to go, look, uncle, everything we're working for, what good is it? Now I
Hmm.
get it. We don't know for sure if that little gathering at Ala Moana Beach Park had anything to do with the spec. We don't know that. But why are you rolling the dice to find out?
This is what bothers me from every level of government, from the federal government to the CDC to the governor to the lieutenant governor. Everyone is saying, "Hey, you guys, please during the holidays, do not gather. Limit your gatherings to your household." This is what This is what we want. And then you get one mayor on Oahu who's trying to fix the numbers so that he can increase the size of gatherings in households, increase the size of gatherings outside. Well, what is wrong with this guy? I had a friend of mine, a longtime friend today, called on other matters. We spoke for a long time, but we spoke of her son who had to go to the hospital on Oahu, and this was about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And it was on Oahu. It was in a hospital on Oahu, and he was there for non-COVID matters. He had non-COVID matters, but he had to be admitted. But in a matter of a week, He had to go to ER 5 times, and he was hospitalized twice. And it was, again, had nothing to do with COVID. But the mom was able to see what goes on at ER, what goes on in the hospitals. And she said the hospital was so busy, was so full, that her son's bed was in the hallway among other beds. Other patients that were being seen or waiting to be seen in ER were in the hallways on Oahu. So, stop telling us everything is all good. Stop telling us that we have the capacity. We don't even have a real surge yet. I think it'd be interesting to hear from Dr. Berreman tonight, but I think, totally non-medical expert opinion, but I think that what we're seeing now is the Thanksgiving numbers, the Thanksgiving surges that, as a result of all the parties and the get-togethers in Thanksgiving. And in addition to, the travel and the virus that's coming in that way, we don't know what's happening as far as travel cases on Oahu, Maui, and the Big Island because they don't report it. We know that on Kauai now it's kind of limited down to community spread because of the quarantine, which is working. So anyway, I think tonight's going to be very interesting to hear Dr. Berreman's perspective.
Well, put it this way. Can you say on a stack of Bibles, yes, we know where the infection is coming from, the ones that just happened recently? That's why I have a hard time thinking that, well, maybe that's the Thanksgiving one. Well, if we don't try hard enough to find where it came from, it can be from Timbuktu for all we know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. But the thing is, the numbers are there.
Yeah. And it's not going down.
Yeah.
It's not going down.
So, if you want to get to the next tier, Mayor, fudge the numbers. You'll get there much quicker. Okay? Throw everybody off the trail and just fudge the numbers, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
But when you go for like a presidential declaration and ask Governor Ige to send it out, it would be funny if there was like a cross-examining board. When you ask for something from the governor, you got to go before the cross-examining board. It says, okay, yes, Mr. Iona. Mr. Iona, question. Yes, I noticed you wanted to get rid of halavas. Well, what differentiate halavas from Y-AVA and OCCC when their numbers are up? He never asked for this same consideration. Why is that? Oh, we'll be back. We have a commercial break. We'll be right back. Yeah. And during that break, they'll go, Charlie, you're not supposed to ask that kind of questions.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you and I should be on the cross-examination board. I think it's just you and me, Charlie. That's it. Nobody else.
All of our friends has given us so much ammunition. It's not ammunition, it's animation. That when things go haywire, right? It's like they tell you, okay, brother, you see this red thing for your battery for connect your jump your car. You put them with a positive, and the black one you put them with a negative or whatever, right? And you over there thinking to yourself, nah, I like to see what happened if I switch them, see what's gonna happen. And go switch them and see what happened. Yeah. And that's why I say with this, go do that. Now the thing is this: if things should go haywire, then this is my question to Mayor Caldwell. Brother, then who are you gonna blame when the numbers don't go down after you and ask for this? What do you do next? Because I think the people of Oahu are getting pretty tired of getting scolding all the time. That it's them the one, it's them. No. Well, first of all, put it this way. We post pictures of guys protesting, right? We went through this whole declaration for a mass mandate. Nothing happened. Let's start there first. Let's start there first and be, let's show them that we got some big ones, and let's do the plow action. Then when everybody start complying and things a little bit change, then you're on the right track to say, hey, the numbers are going down. Yeah. So
Oh, I just got a text.
Yeah.
Mario was having internet issues. He's on his way to the office to log in from there. He may be a few minutes late. All right. All right,
No.
Mario. No problem, man. I know exactly how that feels, baby. I
Yep.
know exactly how that feels. It's
Yep.
Spectrum, guys. It's somebody's on. Janet Berreman is coming in. Okay. Let's real quick. First of all, I want to thank all of you that donated to Hoku's toy crusade or giveaway. Uh, Charlie and I,
Unbelievable.
Charlie and I have been busy collecting stuff, delivering stuff. Appreciate you guys. Some of you folks have actually reached out directly to Hoku, and I went down to drop off some gifts today,
Yep.
and wow, it was amazing, all of the stuff. So thank you, and it hasn't stopped yet. He's not. He's going to go out on Christmas Day, so we have until Friday to go ahead and donate whatever you can. If you stop by the store, pick up an extra toy, what within your means, and then make sure you let Charlie know. We'll get it. We'll get it, or we'll connect with Hoku, connect you with Hoku, and you can go get it yourself,
Do me
deliver
a
it yourself.
favor. Just make sure. I heard someone ask that. I know one kid wanted like a dump truck, right? Okay. If you're gonna get a dump truck for a kid, you don't go to Hawthorne and get one of those 30-ton trucks. He's asking for a toy truck. Okay, we just gotta
Yeah,
make sure
yeah,
it's a toy truck.
yeah. Not the $250,000 rig. So thank you guys all. Thank you all. And then of course we have our nightly giveaway compliments of Haumea Habai Keala Wolf.
Yeah.
She has asked us to continue all the way to Christmas Eve, which is Thursday night will be our show. We're not gonna come on Christmas night, but Christmas Eve. We'll be on Christmas Eve. We got Santa will be here. So on Christmas Eve at about 7 o'clock, make sure you got all your kids around the computer or the TV, however you watch this thing, your iPads. He'll have a very special message for our keiki that we can get in front of the screen. That's pretty much it. Tomorrow night we're gonna have some other local businesses. We got Keiko from Keiko's Kitchen, Keiko's what is it? Grandma's Kitchen in
Grandma kitchen.
Hanakepe, and
Yep.
then we also have Hanale Poi. Lindsay Hariguchi will be on to share her
Mhm.
story with us as well. So, with no further ado, let's do our nightly giveaway. And you all know the drill. We got a ton of names tonight. So we're gonna roll the dice, as you all know. And again, if you want to get entered for tomorrow night, make sure you message me. If you haven't already, message me your name in Messenger, and we'll go ahead with that. All right. So here we go. Let's roll the dice. It's got to be 6 or above. We have a 10.
Okay.
10 is the number. So here we go. That's the list, guys. Look at that list. It's a ton of people. So here we go. One. Oh, 88 people. Two,
Yep.
three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine.
There we go.
Buddy,
Get
that
ready,
was
gang.
that was nine. The dice shows 10. This is it, everybody. Congratulations. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Here we go. One, two, three, boom. And tonight's winner is Michelle Correa. Michelle Correa is the winner tonight. Congratulations, Michelle. That is Kirk's wife. Kirk, another generous supporter of our show. So, Michelle, email aloha at haumeahawaii.com tonight before 8:30 and connect with Haumea Hawaii with Kiala, and she will get your gift heading on to Kauai. So thank you all. Thank you very much. And awesome. Awesome, awesome. So Friday we're gonna have our little Christmas show. Thursday, I'm sorry, Christmas Eve we'll have our little Christmas show, and we'll give away some gifts. If you folks have any gifts that you wanna drop into our little toy bag or gift bag, let us know, and we'll randomize it off like we do tonight. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, Michelle Correa. Congratulations, and thank you. HaumeaHawaii.com. Please, guys, stop by her website. Check it out. And Kiala, we appreciate you and love you lots. All right, here we go. We got our guests are in the waiting room, and here they come.
There's
Dr. Janet Berreman, and oh, look at the festive spirit, man. Oh my
yeah.
God.
It's
Don't I have,
it's supposed to be Noel, right?
have
But
anything around here that could even come close
is
to
that
that?
Noel or Nell?
That's Noel, bro. Come on, man.
No, I know, but it looks like Nell.
Yeah, it's not Leon. It's
It
Noel.
actually, it actually was Mel, but that one arm, that leg fell off. So it's Noel, right on. Gosh, thank you both for joining us tonight. For our viewers, if you don't recognize these two people, where have you been? Mayor Derek Kawakami, Dr. Janet Berreman from our district health office, district health officer for Kauai. Two of the most busiest people on this island right now as we go through COVID-19, approaching the holiday season, and we're in the holiday season actually, approaching the Christmas weekend. How you all doing, guys and gals?
Doing fine. Well, it's kind of an exciting time with vaccines coming out and everything. So it's nice to have something that hopeful at this time of year, I would say.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I tell you what, man, the hour goes so quick, so we're gonna turn it over. Mayor, you have the floor, buddy. Give us an update of where we at, what we can expect, and then Dr. Berman, feel free to jump in at any time and I think share about the vaccines. That'll be a cool topic as well.
Sure thing. So, and Dr. Berreman, thank you so much for co-piloting tonight, and of course, Mel, Uncle Charlie, thanks for having us, and to all the viewers, thanks for spending some time with us. Uh, I really wanted to just basically give an update on three things, and Dr. Berreman, if she wants to add on, um, you know, by all means. But I wanted Dr. Berreman to talk about vaccines, the process, the federal guidelines, what the role of the Department of Health has to play with administering vaccines. I did want to talk about the, is it called the Aloha Safe contact tracing app that Maui County has launched. Kauai County is ready to launch. We wanted to provide a baseline education about what it is, how it is designed to protect your privacy, and how it's voluntary, and how, most importantly, it's not being managed by government. This is a private company that has partnered with government to provide assistance when dealing with pandemic response management and lending a hand towards contact tracing in that investigation side of the disaster response as well. And then we can give an update about, I think what a lot of people have been wondering is what's next. Kauai County had a surge in travel related cases. It was linked to travel. We started seeing the seeds of COVID-19 being spread throughout the community. We had to make a tough decision. We made that decision, and what is coming next. And so I'll turn it over to Dr. Berreman first to go over a little bit about vaccines. And if you want to roll into the Aloha Safe digital contact tracing application, by all means, feel free.
Okay, it's dangerous to set me free, Mayor. I may talk for way too long. I'll start with the vaccines. So as people probably know, there are two different vaccines for COVID-19, and we have now received initial shipments of both vaccines here on Kauai. So Wilcox Hospital is the receiving place for those vaccines, and they've received some of the Pfizer vaccine, which is the one that we've all heard needs to be stored at ultra cold temperatures. And then they've also received the Moderna vaccine, which just needs to be at more normal freezing temperatures. And the first group of people, or there are actually two groups of people for whom vaccine is prioritized initially. One of those is healthcare workers. And so Wilcox, and the supply that came into Wilcox is being shared. It's not all theirs. So they're sharing that with the HHSC hospitals, which are Kauai Veterans Memorial Hospital and Samuel Mahelona Hospital. And so the hospitals are responsible for the very first phase of vaccinating, which is our healthcare workers. And that's not just doctors and nurses, that's everybody who works in healthcare facilities. And it also, as it rolls out over the next couple of weeks, is not just people affiliated with hospitals, but will also be healthcare workers who are in independent healthcare offices, people like dentists and physical therapists, and people who work in laboratories and home health. It's really healthcare very broadly. And that's where the Department of Health comes in with the Moderna vaccine. So we will be doing what are called closed pods, and pod stands for point of dispensing. So that means that we will be running vaccine clinics for designated healthcare providers first. But our responsibility will be the healthcare providers who aren't affiliated with one of the two hospital systems on island. And those organizations will be getting an invitation by email and direction for how their staff can register in advance online and schedule appointments and get their vaccines. The third piece of vaccination that will be happening early and that serves another priority group is people who live in long-term care facilities or work in long-term care facilities. And there's actually a federal contract nationwide to have pharmacy partners do that part of the vaccination rollout. And so that will be CVS and Walgreens making sure that that happens. So the hospitals are doing part, the health department is doing part, and the pharmacies are doing part. After we roll through the healthcare workers, the next piece that the health department will be doing is first responders and high priority essential workers. And then after that, we'll be rolling into the other priority groups. The vaccine is coming pretty much in a trickle now. But we expect that to become, more and more robust supply, and expect that we'll be able to make it available to our kupuna and to anybody with chronic health conditions and others in the new year. But the exact timing of that is really not set yet because it depends on how quickly the vaccine rolls out.
Awesome. So, Dr. Berreman, how many doses are on Kauai, and how many do we expect to actually get?
Well, our first shipment, all combined between the two types of vaccine, is almost 4,000 doses. And we think that that is ample for getting that first layer of healthcare workers and allied healthcare workers and independent practices. And then there will be orders placed every week in an ongoing fashion based on how much vaccine is available and what our need is here on the island. Because of course we don't know yet what percentage of people who are going to be eligible are actually going to want to get the vaccine. So we will learn that as we start actually rolling it out and vaccinating people.
You have any idea if the supply will meet the demand as we roll out these two and maybe any future vaccines? Has there been any discussion about will Hawaii get enough to meet the demand?
Yeah. So in the short term, like I said, what we already have on island seems to be, by our calculation, we think that's enough for that very first tier of healthcare workers or healthcare professionals. The separate piece of people in long-term care facilities is really being handled through a completely separate stream with the pharmacies. And I don't actually have information about those numbers, but I would imagine that they are also robust enough to get that very first layer of high priority people. I do think in the long run, we'll have enough vaccine for everyone who wants to get it, but it's hard to know how quickly the vaccine is going to go from a trickle to a steady flow. But the vaccines are being allocated nationwide by population. So I feel reasonably confident that Hawaii will get our fair share and that will be enough for residents who want to be vaccinated.
Will there be a monitoring system and or mechanism? Because we hear so much about the adverse effects, especially with allergies and severe allergic reactions. That will be monitoring the people here on Kauai in case we should run across that problem.
Right. So there are a couple of different ways that any reactions to the vaccine can be reported. There's an existing system called the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, which is national, which healthcare providers or patients can go to and fill out a form and say what happened to them or what happened to their patient after any kind of vaccine, not just the COVID vaccine. For the COVID vaccines, there's also an app has been created called V-Safe, V like vaccine and safe, that you can download for free. And you register in it. You put in quite a lot of personal information. So I want to say that up front. It's a secure site and that shouldn't be shared, but it may give some people pause. And then you as an individual can enter in there how you're doing on the day you get your vaccine and as many days after that as you want to share information about any different way that you're feeling or any kind of reaction that you have to it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, we have one of our viewers, one of our local hero nurses from Oahu got her vaccine a couple of days ago now, maybe even 3 days ago. On the first day it was available, and she's been updating everyone on Facebook Live, or on Facebook, I'm sorry, on Facebook, on, you know, she's doing really well, aside from that first day, the little pain and so forth. But she has absolutely no side effects. And she has said that we wanted her to come on our show. She's shy, but she's going to be one of our ambassadors, our vaccine ambassadors for the state. And she told me when she gets her second shot in the series that she'll come on our show and share her experience. But I encourage everyone that got the shot, the vaccine, please get that app, be safe, and share your progress. I think it's going to help everybody as we go down the road. With we had Dr. Kim on a few nights ago from South Korea, and he mentioned that there were other companies working aggressively, including Johnson & Johnson, and he named a few others that were moving towards getting a vaccine. So I guess it's exciting times in the vaccine world, and we just hope we can get everybody vaccinated and get on the way to get rid of this COVID. So kind of exciting, I guess.
You know, Dr. Berreman, I wanted to ask you in conjunction with and we're going to get to the discussion about the position that has been taken about opting out of the Safe Travels program, which seems to be working great. I mean, you know, it's proving its worth right now. So if anybody had to be a real harsh critic, I mean, it's working. That's all I can say. But I guess in the UK and you know, as we're watching the news, they're looking at this aggressive mutation that's occurring, but it doesn't seem any more dangerous than, you know, what's at hand now. And apparently the vaccine from all onsets of it shows that, you know, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And I guess, have you heard anything about with this new strain and someone who's vaccinated? Because, you know, we're still in this gray area that if someone is vaccinated and they get the virus, they still can harbor that virus to give it up, to pass it off to someone else, right? I mean, the vaccine is not going to kill that virus.
Well, that's actually one of the things that we don't yet know about the vaccine. So most vaccines, if you take the vaccine and it works the way it should, and you were protected from getting sick, like if you took the measles vaccine and you were exposed to someone with measles and you didn't get measles because you were immune from the vaccine, you would not be at risk of spreading measles to anybody, because the virus needs to reproduce in your body in order to get to adequate numbers for you to spread it to somebody else. But there is the possibility that some people don't respond, their immune system doesn't respond as strongly, or we know, I mean, these vaccines are supposed to be well over 90% effective, but that still means that some small percentage are not responding to the vaccine. So those people may be able to spread virus. Using the measles virus as an example, we also know that and I believe the same is true for flu, if you've been vaccinated, but you get sick anyway, two things. One is that you're not likely to get as severe disease as you might have if you hadn't been vaccinated. So you sort of get partial protection. And the other thing is that even though you can still spread the disease, you're less likely to. And that probably reflects that partial protection that also keeps the virus numbers in your body relatively low. And that's why you don't get as sick. And so you aren't as likely to spread it to other people. So as I think I've said on your show before, nothing is 100%, but I think that there's reason to expect that being fully vaccinated with 2 doses will provide a good deal of protection against sharing disease with other people, although we will continue to learn about this and continue to recommend wearing masks until we know more.
So because this right now, what's happening is emergency use authorization, right? It's not FDA approved, but it's for emergency use only. Are we still? Can we be considered that everyone who takes the vaccine and that's monitored, that we're sort of still in that clinical trial phase? Because there's so many things to be learned from the people's reaction to the vaccine and what it's doing.
Well, this isn't still considered a clinical trial. So the clinical trials are completed, and it was on the basis of those that the FDA has issued an emergency use authorization for both of these vaccines. But we always continue to learn about vaccines and medications, even after they're approved by the FDA, because clinical trials are never as big as actually deploying something in the population. So in my career as a pediatrician, there has been a vaccine that went through the full clinical trial process, was approved by the FDA, was given to many infants, and then there were reports through this vaccine adverse event reporting system of very rare, but more than expected events of intestinal blockage of a specific kind in infants who had gotten that vaccine. And that vaccine ended up being withdrawn. Now it's unusual for that to happen, but I think that it's important for people to understand that we will still be learning about this vaccine, and participating in VSafe or talking to your provider about making a report through the adverse event reporting system is important, because that's how we will continue to learn. And that's always part of the process with a new drug or a new vaccine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that there's a lot of, I see reading the comments that people are saying, hey, we're not, based on all of this information, we're not even going to be able to get the vaccine until 2021. I just want to remind people that we're on the timeline. We were told a while back that, don't expect to get the general public to be able to get this vaccine. This came out of CDC from Dr. Fauci, from many of the experts, that we as the general public wouldn't be able to see or have an opportunity until second quarter of 2021. So, I think that's the schedule. I think that's still a good thing. I mean, I think that's still moving rapidly as it relates to a new vaccine. So I just didn't want people to think that we're getting vaccines is going to be for everybody. Not yet. We still got to wait. The first line, second line. Again, the timeline, the projected timeline based on what I had heard anyway, Doc, correct me if I'm wrong, was second quarter of 2021.
You're right.
Okay, well, that was quick. Mayor, and I'm not sure who's going to tackle the app, and I'm hoping that, again, this Z-Safe app will be widely used, and so we can keep track of everybody. What's your thoughts or information, Mayor? Oh, you're muted.
Here we go. Thank you. So we did want to speak a little bit about the Aloha Safe app that's been under development for a few months, and they've been, I believe it's a Hawaii Executive Conference, has been working with the Department of Health to really fine-tune an application that could provide a useful tool, not only for Department of Health, but for people just like myself that have to go to work, go back home. And a lot of the, I don't want to say fear, but a lot of the concern out there is just the uncertainty, right? As we go about our daily lives, there is a concern about the uncertainty. Did I have contact with somebody that may be one of these confirmed positives. And, you know, we have Department of Health and their contact tracing team fully deployed. And we've got to see the fruits of their labor just by how quickly they've been able to manage the community spread events that have populated on Kauai. And so I want to thank that team. But what it is it's a digital tool that's available now. In fact, I had it downloaded. You're not able to see it because of the lighting. But if you go to your app store, you type in Aloha Safe, you can download it on your phone. The technology that's utilized is Bluetooth. At one point, they were looking at GPS, but that would have been a challenge for many people because of privacy, right? Nobody wants to be tracked. And so they use Bluetooth technology, and they set parameters based on CDC and Department of Health guidelines as far as what constitutes close contact, right? What constitutes one person from being investigated and put into quarantine versus somebody who may have just been passing by. And so they've been working with Department of Health to set parameters. Say, for example, if I had contact with somebody within 6 feet for a period of 15 minutes or more cumulatively, then I would be a candidate if somebody had turned positive or tested positive. Now, it's voluntary. So if I, say for example, if I was on the app and I had tested positive, it would prompt me on whether or not I wanted to inform other people that may have had that close, intense contact that they should be contacting perhaps Department of Health to inform them. And I believe Dr. Berreman will be able to speak more about how the system integrates with theirs and how it could be a useful tool. Like I said, we're going to be rolling it out as far as it being a part of our daily communication to talk about it and to encourage people that perhaps they should consider utilizing this application, what it does, what it doesn't do. I've been on it for about a week, and it's pretty cool because there is a dashboard that gives you the statewide activity, gives you a good graphic on which direction we're trending. Island by island, it'll give you the 7-day daily average case count, where every island is trending as well. And it's simple. It's very easy. It's not complicated. And you're going to be hearing more about this as we go along. And Maui had rolled it out last week. We're the next county that's ready to start talking about it and encouraging people that perhaps they should utilize it. And I'll turn it over to Dr. B because she usually drills down into the details a lot better than I do.
That was great, Mayor. Thank you very much. Yeah, I really would just mostly want to emphasize a couple of things you said. One is that this is entirely voluntary, and it will be a better tool in our community the more people who choose to download it and use it. So it's really, you know, how useful it will be for the individuals who've downloaded it remains to be seen until we see how many people use it. So if you download it, and if you yourself test positive for COVID-19, you will get an automatic text message from the Department of Health. Now, we're not yet sending those anyplace except to people on Maui. So the rollout from the Department of Health side would be that we would, you know, flip the switch to start sending these automatic emails or automatic text messages to the phone number of everybody who tests positive. And the text would say, if you have the Aloha Safe app, and you would like to share the fact that you are positive with others who may have been in close contact with you anonymously. They'll never know your name, but they will get a message that says they've been close to someone who was positive. then here's how you do that. And it gives you instructions. So the role of the Department of Health is to confirm that there actually has been a positive case associated with this person who's downloaded the app, because you can imagine that there might be people who would think it was a good prank to say that they were positive or something like that. So the role of the Department of Health is making sure that any positive COVID reports that are entered into the system are valid test results. But then even if you've downloaded the app, if you test positive, you can, at that time that you get your result, you can say, you know what, I'm not so comfortable with that. I don't actually want anybody to get notified that they might have been close to someone with COVID. So you can still say no. So it remains voluntary all through the process. If you've downloaded the app and you happen to have been close to someone, as the mayor said, for more than 15 minutes, closer than 6 feet during their infectious period, then you would get a notification that just says you may have been exposed to an individual who tested positive for COVID-19 and tells you what to do in response to that. So when we are doing our contact investigation or case investigation and contact tracing, one of the things we will be asking is, do you have the Aloha Safe app, and did you get a notification on it? So it's an added tool in the toolkit, as you said, Mayor.
Yeah, and people may be wondering, why would I want to be on this app? And for me, it's very simple. I want to protect my family. If I happen to be in that category where I had close contact, somebody became positive, decided to inform close contacts that, hey, you may be at risk, there's still time for me to be able to remove myself from my family to go get a test and still protect them. Just because I had close contact with somebody who became positive, we have to remember that the incubation period for this virus is relatively long. And so people shouldn't assume that, oh shucks, I live with my family, they're all probably going to be positive too. There is still time, and this allows you to be notified a lot quicker. And if you hit that button that says you want to notify people that they may have been in contact with somebody that's positive, it doesn't disclose any information about who that person is. And so your privacy is protected. All you're doing is giving the general public the courtesy that, hey, I got sick. And people get sick, right? We can't stigmatize that people that are getting sick are bad people. We all get sick. It's unfortunate, but they still have the ability to do the right thing, protect other people, protect this community. And so for me, I'm on it just because I want to get notified as quickly as possible. And if by any chance I become sick, I want to be able to notify other people as quickly as possible, and at least have them have the ability to go get tested, distance themselves from loved ones, and take the necessary precautions as well.
Aloha Safe, guys. I know a lot of people asking. It's Aloha Safe. I'm not sure if this is the app that we had gone over a couple of different apps on our show. It sounds like the one we had on, Charlie. I'm not sure if Aloha Safe was the one, but guys, download them. And I know some people are saying, hey, if you can opt out, then what good is it? Well, it's like the speed limit sign. Not everybody follows the speed limit. Some people, believe it or not, opts out of the speed limits, and they choose to speed. But for those that actually opt in, we save lives. So that's the reality. Are we going to get everybody on the app? No. But everybody that gets on the app creates a safer environment for everyone. So Aloha Safe. Let's do that tonight after the show. Charlie?
I think it's worth noting too that, when we have good programs like this, and it sounds just from I haven't seen it, nor I think I'm going to take a look at it after we're done tonight. But I think, we still have that percentage of people in the community that still don't want to believe for one reason or another. And you can't, they say you can lead a horse to water, you can't make the horse drink the water. And no matter how much of a program can be beneficial, they still won't. It's all about the messaging. They still won't buy into it for some reason, and that's what we got to contend with. And sadly, that should something very big happen, and everybody gets notified properly, and it's like tsunami comes, we run for the hills, and you're one of those that don't believe in tsunamis, and you're down there picking up shells on a beach, you get wiped out. Unfortunately, you become one of the fatalities. And I think that's what we're trying to do, is to make everybody get on the same page that, if we got to move, we move in unison all towards safety, as opposed to leaving somebody behind. I mean, that's the look of things, the way I see this. But I wanted to ask the mayor something, a little sidetracking from this, and that is the announcement that the governor had given Mayor Caldwell his approval to uh, the request to prevent the numbers in the prison from being counted overall in the Oahu numbers. And before you came on, Mayor, we were kind of speculating that, man, if it's funny, because when OCCC and Waialva had their outbreaks, he never made an attempt to exclude those numbers. And it only seems like, I really have this desire to get to the next tier. So I got to remove those numbers. But it seems counterproductive in some ways, because what if something bad happens? What's your thought about that?
Man, Mayor Caldwell, he's got a mountain of a task.
Mhm.
I take a look at his population, the size of the city and county of Honolulu, and from his vantage point, he probably looks at Kauai and says, "Man, I just wish I had an island of that size." But we have our unique challenges as well. I would say this, that and I'll speak as my role as mayor for Kauai.
Mhm.
I would count every positive case in the case count without excluding numbers, and I tell you why. Our prison systems do not have their own hospitals, and so there's a potential that these people that are incarcerated may have to occupy an ICU bed. Now, unless I miss something, um, there's still a positive case count. There are still corrections officers, custodial staff, office and managerial staff, and every other type of support service that goes into running a prison that has to interact with these individuals on a daily basis, and they go back home to their families as well. So I would say that it is not a path that I would go towards, as far as deciding what numbers to include in our case count and which ones not to include, because there are unintended consequences um, all around that could potentially happen. And I think at this point, you just got to give people the straight talk. Well, the numbers are the number, the numbers are the numbers. You don't want to go playing around with them too much, because it leads to confusion. And there's one thing that is a common denominator for this COVID response, is there has been a lot of confusion. And so we try to keep things simple as possible, as easy to understand as possible. That is why the Department of Health here on Kauai reports the numbers as they get them, as quickly as they possibly can. And for transparency's sake, it's just not something that I would choose to do, for whatever which reason that decision is being made.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I just like to say this. I think if you do enough of those type of things over a period of time, then the credibility factor just goes down the tubes. It's like, maybe you might have something important the next time you want to tell the people to jump on, right? But they're going to look at it as, you know what, we've heard enough. We're not going to even bother with it. And that's what you're talking about, the danger, that they might not be able to buy into something that might be life saving. And I appreciate that response. Thank you, Mel.
Well, it was always the concern from day one on every county. In fact, in every location across the country, it was always the concern of the medical resources, hospital beds, ICU units, ventilators. That was the whole push, right? That was the whole reason why cities and states would lock down or put in restrictions because they needed to protect their medical resources and make sure they were available. So, the point the mayor just made is spot on. It's if an inmate gets sick, they're going to occupy a hospital bed. They're not going to, they're going to have to go to the hospital, which does impact the community. So I mean, I agree with the mayor 100%, spot on. And I think that is dangerous territory, but that's just my opinion. I wanted to go real back, Dr. Berreman, back real quick, back to the app, because I know I see a lot of people are downloading the app. When do you envision Kauai and Oahu and the Big Island, if you know, to activate so we would be part of that network?
I can only speak for Kauai, and I would echo what the mayor said, that we're next in line. I haven't gotten any update on how things are going with the Maui rollout, so I would want to know that. But there's no reason that people can't go ahead and download the app now. But we are not yet sending those outreach text messages to people, but we can start doing that as soon as it seems like the right thing to do. I would say we're a little bit preoccupied this week with getting vaccines up and rolling, so maybe we would wait another week or so.
Okay.
Could I make a comment about the prison
Sure,
issue?
of course.
Well,
Of
because
course.
I think that while I totally agree that protecting the healthcare resources and facilities is really, really important. And you know that with my public health hat, I'm always thinking a little bit upstream and how do we prevent things before we get to the point of hospitalization? Because once the disease has spread, we know some percentage of people are going to need hospital care. And although we think of our correctional facilities as being separate from our community, as the mayor pointed out, people who live in our community work there every day and have contact with the inmates every day. And every single day, inmates are being admitted, if that's the right term, it sounds like a hospital term, into the correctional facilities and are being released from the correctional facilities. And before they go in and after they come out, they are also mixing freely in our community and are part of our community. So from a real public health and population perspective, the concern about taking out those numbers is that those numbers actually do interact. They are people who interact in our community and are members of our community and are not fully separated. So the risk of them introducing or spreading that virus in our community is very real in the same way it is for travelers.
Absolutely. I mean, that's quite concerning, but anyway, thank you for that. Mayor, I know, like I said, man, this hour goes by quick. 40 minutes has gone by already. I did want to give an opportunity to discuss the opting out. I think based on what we read in our viewership, highly supported. I think a lot of people off island support the decision. Charlie and I both have mentioned it many times. We supported the decision, but of course, there's some people that thought it was going overboard. So perfect opportunity for you, Mayor. It's been what, a week or so now? I don't remember, man. Time is just. But we see the benefit. We have seen the cases, especially the travel-related cases, disappear. So quick update.
One day we're gonna be able to look back, and all of these events that are unfolding before our eyes are gonna be a part of history, and it'll reveal a lot about what we did absolutely correct, what we did wrong, how we could be better. In this sense, we had to make a very tough decision. It wasn't the option that we had presented as a middle ground, but such is life. When no is no, there becomes a point where you have to make these tough decisions in a leadership role. It's not an easy decision to make, but it was a necessary one. And I stand by our decision. But we do realize this, that the economic and financial situation is mounting every day, that we can't figure out a way to balance the public health as well as the economic recovery. Um, and we have to seek that middle ground. Uh, we've always stood by that having a short quarantine period followed by a second test would be the best practical practice moving forward. We've been having ongoing discussion with the governor's office about what that would look like, because we still stand firm um, that that is the best path forward. And we're starting to see increased caseloads statewide. And we don't know where the other counties are as far as continuing to move forward if those case numbers continue to rise. We just haven't had that conversation as of yet. We did get some indication from the governor that there is not going to be any wiggle room to create a modified safe travels program for Kauai. He does want some uniformity when it pertains to that particular travel program. So he said that if we want to create a program that is separate and above from safe travels, here's what he'd like to see being rolled out initially. Um, One, he wouldn't object to a short quarantine period, 3 days, and a second test uh, in what we call the enhanced movement quarantine property, also known as resort bubbles. As you folks may recall, the first time that travel got pushed back all the way in August, we started flagging to all of the resort properties and hotel properties and timeshares that please utilize this time to formulate contingency plans. And if you're wondering what a contingency plan looks like, it's an enhanced movement quarantine property where you're not necessarily quarantining families in hotel rooms, but you are securing the property of the resort and you're allowing people to move about on the resort property. Some resorts have taken that guidance, have submitted plans, gotten approvals, and they're actually operating as resort bubbles, Kukuyula and Timbers, which, by the way, are requiring that pre-travel test proof that they took a test and it's negative, and they're also testing 3 days after, even though these guests are on the property. They are doing everything they can to protect other guests and as well as the island and their workers as well. So I want to thank them profusely for being proactive. Um, we also stand by the belief that visitors should pay for the cost of this test. Now, I cannot see having our working men and women covering the cost of the test for these visitors. But we did also say that we see a need to be able to administer tests to the workers that are in most contact with these visitors. So we're talking hotel workers, guided experiences. And so our team is formulating operational plans to be able to administer tests, much like our surge testing was aimed at visitor industry workers, on how we can provide tests for the visitor industry workers. So in a nutshell, uh, we've had our legal team draft up language to create a program outside of the safe travel program. That one would still require a pre-travel test, but we heard that it's a challenge to be able to get a test from a trusted testing partner because there's a huge demand on the mainland because these places have cases that are going through the roof. So these states are prioritizing tests for people that are getting sick, um, and not necessarily for leisure travel. So it's creating a disruption in visitors being able to get test results back in time. We've heard that there are thoughts to expand that window. We had a different thought that we said we should be moving more towards a free market business model where you expand different partners who have the testing capability. And Dr. Berreman can talk about what specifications and benchmarks she's looking at to say, hey, that's a good test. Um, but we want to expand it to not just PCR tests, but the ability for travelers to have rapid antigen tests available for that pre-travel test. It provides a layer of protection as people board the plane and make their way to Kauai. Of course, the governor would like to see it much more focused in a resort bubble setting. So we drafted up a rule to reflect his desire to see that happen. And we also have formulated the plan that's been in place for a while to be able to have these visitors tested after that short quarantine period. And with a negative test result, hey, enjoy the island. Now, this is based on the fact that, according to Kauai Visitors Bureau, the average length of stay on Kauai is longer, perhaps, than other islands. In fact, the number I got maybe a week and a half ago, so it may have changed, was about 14 days. That's not at one particular property. That just means that a visitor is on island on average for about 14 days because a family stays at Poipu, they may want to go to the North Shore. So the hotels are reporting a shorter average length of stay, but that's at their particular property. So I'm basing our decision on how long they're going to be on island. So we felt it's reasonable, and it is the best way to get our economy back on its feet, considering the risk of travel and the cases that we've been able to see that were linked to travel as well. Dr. B, you got anything else you want to add on?
No, well, you know me, of course, I have a little something I'd like to add on. I really want to second what the mayor said, that this is kind of an intermediate approach that the mayor and I have supported and tried to find a way to be able to implement here on Kauai for several months now. And so, using the resort bubbles and creating a separate Kauai program, separate from Safe Travels, there are downsides to all of that, and it's not perfect, but I fully agree with the mayor that this would be a giant step forward for Kauai, rather than being an absolute everyone is in a long quarantine or everyone can get through with just one pre-travel test. We saw what happened here in just a few weeks with that single pre-travel test, and now I think we're seeing its impact statewide. It's frankly been a little bit slower than I expected it to be, but I'm very concerned by the numbers we saw over the last couple of days statewide and the trend up, because we know that this disease tends to creep up in the beginning and then really take off very steeply. So I'm concerned statewide. Having a 3 or 4 day quarantine and a test at the end of that and then release from quarantine will not in any way stop 100% of travel related illness in our community, but it will greatly reduce it from what we were seeing with a single pre-travel test. And I think it's a very reasonable position and compromise that, as the mayor says, will allow us to have more economic activity and people to have more work than they have had. And the ability to support our travel industry workers by offering them testing is also a key critical component to me. So I'm fully supportive of this approach.
So, so basically, Mayor, you've this created program, what you just discussed, you've proposed it to the governor already. I mean, I'm trying to get a understanding on it, and he's again haven't decided or had said no.
No, it was like an all-out blitz because the conversation just happened at the end of last week, right? I mean, we were still sort of in a holding pattern because we hadn't gotten a definitive no on the last proposed rule, right? It was kind of like shelved. It wasn't going anywhere, so we said, "Hey, we're gonna opt out," and it still kind of hung out there in the twilight zone. So, I said, "Hey, we're trying to tie up loose ends here. is it safe to say that we're not going to get a yes on this thing? And so he said, yeah, I'm trying to remain consistent with at least the Safe Travels program. But he, I didn't really propose this to the governor. He actually proposed this to us because he said, why don't we talk about being able to test people out of quarantine in resort bubbles? So I said, I'll call you up after the meeting, because it was in a meeting with a broader audience. And, I didn't want this conversation to get lost in the shuffle. So as soon as that meeting had ended, I called the governor and said, hey, let's talk about this because, um, it works if you just tell me what you want, right? Like, no is not an answer. Like, you cannot just tell somebody no. Um, Whether you're parenting a child or coaching or whatever it is, it's got to be like, no, but here's what you can do to improve or to get to a yes. So he actually said, hey, I'm not opposed to a second test for guests that are in a resort bubble. And so we took that and we said, well, that's easy to do. We just got to change operationally, what that looks like on paper. And then that's where we started having the discussion about, do you want this tied to Safe Travels? Do you want it independent? He said, no, I want this independent. So we're going to make it independent. I said, hey, we still value the pre-travel tests. We don't want to compete with trusted testing partners. Like, we don't want to be seen as competition, right? Because we ain't going to get nowhere. So knowing that we don't want to compete with your program, do you mind if I work with our district health officer, Dr. Janet Berreman, on really setting parameters on what an appropriate test would look like, and not necessarily having to have these visitors have to go to a place that may not have any tests available, right? So we're opening the market up. We're being more flexible. If Dr. Berman says she has a level of confidence that this is a good test, the results are coming from a lab that is certified, hey, I'm good to go. I ain't the expert in that subject matter. So she provides a level of confidence. So that's a funny question, Uncle Charlie, when you said, if we had proposed this to the governor and, are we still waiting? We actually just finalized the rule and had a rules meeting today. And so I'm not sure if our team had submitted it up to the governor's office yet, because we're scrambling from the end of last week till today to get something on paper and to really discuss it, what it's going to look operationally. But quite the contrary, this is something that the governor reached out and proposed actually to us on what he would see as a fitting model to be able to test somebody out of quarantine instead of a 10-day, stay in your room or stay on property type of experience. So, hey, the more he can give me on what he wants, hey, we can make it work, right? Like,
Mhm.
help me, help me do the job. If we're gonna be working under you, you just tell me what you want to see, and we'll be able to grind away and make that happen.
It's always been, and we've discussed it so many times. It's easy to say no, but at least give me some options. you know, it's like when somebody wants to come through a gate and you say, I'm going to tell you no because this is not the entry. You need to go through the other gate. At least you give them an option on how to get inside, but you go through a different gate. But to follow up with Dr. Berman's point about the maybe looking at something that wouldn't compete with a Safe Travels app, that would be like trusted, tested. What would you believe may be a good trusted, tested partner that might not compete with them? Would that require the traveler coming into Hawaii to bypass Honolulu direct and coming straight? If that's allowed, that they come straight into Kauai and not stop off in Honolulu? Because I think there may be a little conflict there, or it might be something that might differ from what Honolulu has arriving.
Charlie, I have to say a lot of those operational details haven't been worked out at this point.
Okay.
When the mayor's talking about what kind of test, I'm really looking at any test that has FDA emergency use authorization, EUA, as we were talking about with the vaccines. And we were talking about including in that antigen tests, which tend to be faster and less expensive than the PCR or NAT tests. And currently for safe travels, it needs to be a PCR or NAT, and it needs to be from a trusted travel partner. So we're looking at expanding the type of tests and also the sources of those tests, if you will.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and like that's gonna be a decision the traveler is gonna have to make, right? Like, like if they're gonna come in, you know, they got to determine where they want to start their vacation, right? If they want to start it off in Waikiki and end it on Kauai, that's going to be a challenge initially because our program is working within the parameters that the governor has set. Like I told our team, we're not going to get fancy with this thing. We're going to keep it as simple as possible. We're going to take what, our governor has said, these are the lines. We're going to walk within the lines and we can adjust as we go along. So I would say that the initial startup, these visitors are going to have to determine, hey, where do I start my vacation? If they want to participate with this and spend a 3-day, I guess, time where they can enjoy the property, get over their jet lag or whatever it is, which they do anyway, right? I mean, how many guests just sit by the pool all day long, be able to take a second test and then enjoy the rest of the island? They're going to have to make that. Now, I would like to say that we always have to be cognizant that the overwhelming voice is always going to be from the city, right? As far as media time, talking about their situation, you're going to hear numbers or the situation that's from the city than the country where we're at. And that's just how it is. That's the way it's supposed to be. They got the population mass, so they have a bigger voice. Our industry here on Kauai is unique in the sense that we have about an even split between timeshare properties and hotel rooms. And then 20% are vacation rentals. So roughly about 30% is hotel rooms, roughly about 30% is timeshare, another 20% is vacation rentals. So half of the market are in accommodations that typically have longer length of stays. Like timeshares are usually sold in a week-long block, if not 2 weeks. And vacation rentals typically are longer than your average stay at a hotel room. And that's why the situation here on Kauai is perhaps a little different elsewhere. And it's just because the inventory of accommodations is different here than it is, say, in Waikiki, where you primarily have these hotel rooms. Sorry about that.
No. I'm glad you made that clarification because a lot of times people try to compare Honolulu to Kauai, and you're right. They get all the ink, they get all the airtime, and that's a huge issue. The types of accommodations, and that is why when the Visitors Bureau come out with the average stay of 14 days, that's because of that. Because we have much more vacation rentals, we have much more timeshares that the length of stay is a lot higher than hotels. So I know you have hotel employees that, hotels I worked at, aside from Timbers, was about 5 days. 5 days was the length of stay average, between 4 and 5 days. But that's just the hotel. It wasn't the timeshare portion. So you got to compare apples to apples when you're dealing with this. And I think a lot of people don't. And that's why we get, these differences are created. So I see the governor's point. I heard the lieutenant governor a week ago or so. They asked him about your plan and if the governor was going to make a ruling. And he said that the lieutenant governor said that the governor was not going to change the Safe Travels program before the holiday season is over. He made it very clear. So I think that's good news that the governor will allow Kauai to create a separate program, and I think that's reasonable. I think it's very reasonable. You have any idea of how long that would take to implement or to get started, if in fact governor approves?
So like I said, operationally, we've been formulating workups or kind of drilling what it would look like as far as being able to test the amount of visitors coming in. So operationally, it is, I have a high level of confidence in our team that we were able to deploy the plan when we were asking for it. So it's ready. I would say from a planning perspective, we are setting the goal, perhaps that in the first week of January, at least the Con-Am travel side would be ready to go. And like I said, if people are wondering why this thing is narrow, it's narrow because, like I said, these are all uh, things that the governor has proposed to us as being a workaround. And, we don't want to end up in a situation where we start going outside of those orders to have it get denied because we're trying to get things um, back up and running. So we're not going to get fancy with it. The loose ends, hey, look, we already identified loose ends that need to get worked on, but we want to be able to address this big first segment first, and then move forward from there. You got to keep in mind too that despite what um, certain elected officials have characterized Kauai as being under, saying that it's a lockdown, this is by far not a lockdown. I can tell you it's very disruptive to the visitor industry. And that is, and we knew was going to be the biggest challenge to reopen. But since we were able to open up, we've been able to proceed, right? Restaurants, bars, gyms, youth sports, hair salons, nail salons. We've been able to keep construction going. And which has been doing well. We've been able to keep the economy at large open. And not only that, the people of Kauai have felt safe. So they're more inclined to go out and eat at a restaurant and dine out than if they felt a level of uncertainty. But moving forward, that is the overarching goal, is to be able to proceed and move forward without having to take drastic measures to have to roll back. And that is what our team is committed to. The only way we can achieve that is if we just get community buy-in to continue to do what they're doing, which is being vigilant, doing their part, making these sacrifices, taking monumental tasks and breaking them down into bite-sized, manageable pieces, and just understanding that, there's hope, right? Not everybody's going to take a vaccine, but this is unprecedented that they've been able to develop a vaccine, get it through the trial period, and get it out there and administer it worldwide. And every day is more promising. And people have to get into the mindset of hope, optimism, doing their part, and we're going to get through this. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's been a long time. We have much more to go, but we will, as always, overcome this adversity as we always have.
Well said, boy. I mean, you always have a way of delivering that message, Mayor. That hour went by really, really quick. Dr. Berreman, I would love to give you an opportunity to share your closing thoughts with the people of Kauai and across the country, really.
Well, I really want to echo what the mayor said, that with vaccines here, we are on the cusp of, I think, the most hopeful phase that we've had yet of this pandemic. So that feels like an enormous opportunity, although it does come with unknowns, as we talked about. We're also, unfortunately, in the time in our country of really the greatest risk and therefore the greatest threat to the state of Hawaii, because as you know, cases are rising continuously on the mainland. I think this morning, 33 states of the 50 states show increasing rates of rise. So we need to hold in our hearts and minds this this dual kind of conflicting thing of we have a lot of reason to be hopeful, and we also have a lot of reason to continue to be cautious. And I think that those don't need to be in conflict, but it can be hard to keep both of them present in our minds at all times. But I think that's the way we start the new year. And I am hopeful that as the new year progresses, the hope will get higher and the threat and the disease levels will get lower, and we will be in a much better place in a few months.
Thank you, Mayor.
You.
And Mayor, we are having our Christmas show on Thursday night. You're more than welcome to jump on, give your Christmas message. Santa will be here at 7 o'clock. If you want to come back and share your Christmas message, whenever you can pop in, we'll definitely make time for you to share your message. But any closing thoughts in addition to what you just said?
No, I would love to. This is a big challenge, man. I gotta say, it's probably one of the biggest challenges that I've ever had to deal with, and I know that I'm not alone. Everybody is going through this challenge in some way, and at times it can feel lonely, because our natural instinct to be able to socialize has been hindered while we go through this. But I just wanted to say that you're not alone if you feel alone. We do have resources out there. We recently created a hotline Monday through Friday if somebody needs to talk to somebody, because this has been going on for a while, but there's hope. Like I said, Christmas is always a time where people are looking for love. They're looking for optimism. The reason for the season is to have hope and to try to bring joy. So I'm gonna say this: I will see you on Thursday while you folks are giving your Christmas wishes out there. We're gonna get through this, and look, one day we're gonna look back at this and we're gonna just trip that we actually had to go through this. Like, I never imagined this, and even after all these months, it's still baffling, but it is what it is.
Awesome. Charlie?
Well, as always, I'd like to say thank you to our guest, Dr. Berreman and Mayor Kawakami. Thank you for joining Mel and I tonight. Thank you so much. Just by the comments, when you have a chance, take a look at the comments. Very uplifting, these people. It was a good educational session. We needed that. We needed that. One thing I know, that if I have the opportunity to take the vaccine, I'll tell you this. I've read about it. I've heard about it. I heard, for my friends out there, why I encourage you to take the vaccine, because I heard that you'll lose weight. The moment you get the shot, you lose 25 pounds. You look brand new. And if you believe that, then right now Uncle is 140 right now. No, I too am thankful. I got a message today that I'll be at one of the 1A tiers at one of the hospitals getting the vaccine. So I think what I want to do is, I told Mel, I'm going to document it. I'm going to videotape it, taking a shot, and just give my readout on what the feeling is like, because I want people to get over that fear factor. You don't have nothing to be afraid of. I mean, a lot of things can happen, but I think what was very, very important tonight, and I hope the governor is listening, that we're reasonable people. Our mayor is reasonable. Our health officer is reasonable. I don't think there's anything that you said tonight that is so unreasonable that it cannot be done. I think the only thing that probably would need some work is all the other players. If it was to be implemented, all the other players on island have to get with the program, so the program can march in sync, so we don't go too much to the right or too much to the left and make the thing go all haywire. And then somebody can say, well, you see, we gave you a chance, but look what happened. We don't want that. We just want success for everybody, to bring them back to a point in their life that that we can look at each other and say, hey, we did it, and that's the bottom line. We all persevered. So, Mel.
Thanks, Charlie, and thank you so much, Mayor, Dr. Berreman. We look forward to having you both on. It's just always an honor and a pleasure to have the both of you on, two of the hardest working people in the state, two of the most reasonable people in the state. I am blessed, and I thank God every night to be living on Kauai with our leadership here, with two of you and your teams. We are just blessed, and I know a lot of people wish they could have the leadership. You know, I hear the comments from elected officials saying, really looking, or I'll say talking down to Kauai. Oh, you mean for one case? Well, they got one case in the hospital? Like it's no big deal. We're not at a lockdown, which was kind of referenced a few times, and it really upsets me. So this show gives an opportunity for the public, our viewers, to really understand what's going on behind the scenes. That in fact, it wasn't just a decision to instill a 14-day, now 10-day quarantine without any consideration of the economic consequence. The fact that you guys are still working every day to find an alternative to the thing I like about living on Kauai is there is no doubt in anybody's mind that our leadership relies on the health and safety of the people as the priority. That makes me feel good because I feel safe. And I understand some people are struggling and having a rough time, but I do not want to get back to where we had all of those cases coming up. Look at Oahu now, triple digits again and again and again. So I just want you guys to know, both of you and all your team, that we got your back. We support you guys 100%. We are here for you all. You guys want to do a special segment when the app becomes active, you know, you guys have that open invitation to come on this show and share, because it is a great place. It's a fun place. And you guys actually look relaxed over here, much less stressful than being on the news. So we always appreciate having you guys on. For our fans, our viewers, thank you all. This week's going to be a week of hope for us. You know, tonight was a COVID night, but we're gonna have businesses on. You know, Mayor, Dr. Berreman, we've had businesses that have set up giving trees in their restaurants for kids to come in and grab a present out of the tree. We've had Hoku Dusenberry Lee on the other night. He's doing a toy drive. This is 6th year he's doing that, going out to the communities where that gets left out, and tons of toys being donated by our viewers and by friends. We're in a special place, and this week will be a week of hope, culminating on Thursday night with Santa Claus, with a message from the mayor, and just giving everybody hope that things are going to get better. We got to stay together. We got to wear a mask, social distance, and avoid the big parties. We love you guys, everyone. Take care. God bless. Yay.
Don't
Thank
forget.
you so much.
Very good. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Mayor. I want to give a shout out to a special person who's been giving a gift every night, our Keala. She's our special hero on the Big Island. And because of her and because of you, Mel, bringing on Hoku, I got a special message that she lives on a Big Island, but she loaded a container with 3 bikes and gifts for Hoku and his family that's being shipped by Hawaiian Air Cargo that should be arriving tomorrow for his giveaways. So again, I want to send a special shout out to Keala. Thank you so much. She's a special person.
Keala Wolf, haumeahawaii.com. Go check it out. She's got some incredible stuff there. Yes, Keala is our angel. She gives us a prize. We give out every night, and the final one will be on Christmas Eve. So again, thank you all. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. God bless you guys. Stay safe. Take care. Mayor, Dr. Berreman, special blessings to both of you. And if I don't see or hear from you guys, Merry Christmas to you and your families. You take care. God bless.
God bless.
We love you guys.